On today's episode of the Cryptoverse, a Bitcoin mine running 11,000 machines is shut down by the Bolivarian National Police. Let's see who was arrested and why. Dash is the privacy-focused digital currency that offers transactions with instant confirmations. Its unique decentralized decision-making and self-funding system make it an ideal choice as a stable and secure digital cash. Click the link in the video description to learn more. Hi there guys, and welcome to the latest episode of the Cryptoverse, your regular dose of news and commentary on Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies and blockchains. I am your host, Chris Coney. Today is Monday, the 30th of January 2017. Let's get right into the market roundup. So we turn to coinmarketcap.com for the cryptocurrency prices. We have a big winner today, a big winner, in the form of MaidSafe. It's a big one because MaidSafe is in the top 10 most capitalized coins, and when you see a double-digit gain, like 11.89%, that is definitely something to write home about. Now that puts a MaidSafe coin at near enough 14 cents per token. And that's having had $1.5 million worth of trading volume in the last 24 hours, putting MaidSafe at $62 million in total market cap. Now, I did look at MaidSafe's blog to see if there was any news, to see if I could explain if there's any announcement or any news or any sort of controversy that had caused that jump. But no, the last time MaidSafe posted a blog on their official blog site was September 2016, which was a long time ago. So that's that. For those of you who don't know, MaidSafe are kind of creating a new internet, a decentralized encrypted internet. And like it says here, their alpha is now available. You can download their launcher thingy and actually play with the real software. I've played with it a little bit. It's reasonably primitive at the moment, but it is there. MaidSafe, they started their project quite soon after Bitcoin was launched. So they've been working on it for like 8 years, diligently. So they're definitely something to keep an eye on. Unfortunately for me, one of the cryptocurrencies I've got a soft spot for, which is Steem, has dropped 5.32%, putting a Steem token at 16 cents and the blockchain at, $37.5 million in total. Steem then sits at 11th most capitalized coin. So the battle for the top 10 most capitalized coins is definitely on. Turning to the charts, courtesy of bitcoinwisdom.com, we have the Bitstamp price in US dollars, and we have a bit of a snooze fest. See, the prices, the actual ranges of the candles are incredibly small, but very telling. There's nothing irrelevant about the price charts. That ascending triangle thing still going on. The most interesting thing, which I'm going to point out, the only thing I'm going to point out today, is the volume. If we take a look at the volume of trading, it seems to have plummeted. In fact, if I keep this on here and then switch over to my other tab where the yuan price is, look at the volume. It's absolutely plummeted. And that's correlated with the size of the candles. Look at the yuan chart and the size of the movements. Now, those 3 most recent candles, they look small in relation to the other ones that have happened recently. These massive ranges where we see like the crash that happened was like a 17% move in a day. And that was 17% from an opening price of 85.76. So that's a big swing. So when you see a big candle like that, of course, a little tiny move like yesterday, which was an increase of 0.09% from an opening price of 63.75, well, of course it looks tiny. However, if we took all this out, if we just deleted all this and assume this never happened, back here where you see these, they seem tiny moves, but they would look like these bigger ones in relation to their cousins and brothers and sisters, right? So in fact, if I actually scroll this, I can sort of give us a perspective on this. If I scroll to the left and get rid of the big candles, you see what happens? The chart updates itself relative to what's on the screen. So if I take out the big ones, like this, you see those tiny ones suddenly become more obvious because they're relative to what else is on the screen. So this looks far more normal in terms of a cryptocurrency or even a Forex price chart. So if we added those 3 recent candles that look tiny to this chart here of this perspective, where the top of it is 7,500 and the bottom of it is 3,500, they wouldn't seem so tiny. So anyway, let me reset my chart here back to where I was. So let's see, what would you do with this, right? If you're ever going to enter a trading position, it's always wise to do it before the price moves, which means the best time to enter is when the markets are calm, right? This is why these big swings happen, is when the price starts to move up, people start buying in when the price is going up. That's the worst time to get involved because the move has already happened. And most professional traders, if we look at this big move up here, will already have had their positions on the table before it happened. And they ride it up and they sell at the top, or they sell when they've made a significant profit anyway. And similarly, the reason why it falls so hard is when the price starts going down, people suddenly make snap decisions and start selling when the move is happening. That's not the time to do it. The best thing to do would have been to buy back here when it was reasonably calm, hold your stomach through all this craziness, and now it's calmed down again, sell, right? Sell now, right? Because you'd still have bought here, say, based on the yuan price, at say 5,500, 5,600, and now we're up at 6,300. You'd have bought calm, sold calm, and still made a profit, and be confident about it. And I just used the key phrase there, which is you've got to be able to hold your stomach. If you haven't yet got to the point of emotional maturity where you've mastered your emotions and are not controlled by them, do not under any circumstances get into trading or investing of any kind, because it will kill you. You will make irrational decisions in an emotionally charged state, and then this kind of thing happens and you'll lose tons of money. Let's take a quick stopover on the segregated witness tracker for Litecoin. As it says here on litecoinblockhalf.com/segwit.php, we've got Segwit and the Litecoin network is going to start polling. It says here the 28th, which was actually 2 days ago, but it's actually now got a countdown on it. It says roughly it's going to be the 31st of January. The reason why it's not a specific date, it's more of a block number, and you can't predict exactly when that block will be, because even though Bitcoin targets 10 minutes per block, sometimes it's slightly above, sometimes it's slightly under, so you can't quite predict when a block number is going to be reached. So even though you see this countdown timer on the page, it's not exactly going to be 15 hours, 2 minutes and 21 seconds away. This is going to adjust itself based on when blocks are mined, right? So then what we'll start seeing is the miner support number increasing. Well, I hope it increases. I hope it doesn't stay at 0. I think it's highly unlikely that it will stay at 0. It will start increasing somewhat. And then the Bitcoin community sat there going, okay, let's have Litecoin experiment with segregated witness and see if it works. And then you've got a hard evidence, a real experiment that Segwit works or not doesn't work. And then the Bitcoin community can either move the scaling debate forward with more confidence, right? Because that's the problem at the minute. Everyone's speculating based on what might happen, and no one can really present a real test cases and evidence, which is what we'll have if Litecoin decides to fork and integrate segregated witness. So in terms of the news then, I have turned to bitcoin.com for this article entitled Venezuelan Authorities Are Weakening Bitcoin Mining Operations. Now I've decided to cover this story because I found some new information out about this stuff that actually changed my attitude towards the Venezuelan authorities. It didn't change it entirely, but it did cause me to adjust my perspective. Now, it's far too easy for one's own bias to lead you to conclusions too early, or to stick to those conclusions, more importantly. Now, that doesn't happen to me very often, but in relation to this particular stuff, Venezuela and Bitcoin and so on, it did. And if you've been listening to me for a while now, you'll know that I do my utmost to maintain as an objective position as possible, as I can do being an individual human being. So let's see what we've got here. So it says, according to reports on January the 27th, the Organized Crime Bureau of the Bolivarian National Police, let's call them the BNP, they shut down an 11,000 unit Bitcoin mining undertaking. Okay, so the first myth dispelled. This is not the police kicking down doors and looking for teenagers who are running nice hash on their computers, right? This was an industrial scale mining farm, right? So it's good to get the specifics. When you hear things like, the Venezuelan authorities are cracking down on Bitcoin, that's such a general statement. And then you can come up with all kinds of demons and monsters in your mind and mental movies about what exactly that looks like, right? So it's good to put some details into this. It then goes on to say the socialist regime of Venezuela has recently been shutting down cryptocurrency mining operations. The latest, it says, camouflaged facility, in quotes. Does that mean it was actually covered in camouflage? I don't know. It was located in the city of Valencia, Carabobo. Authorities say the takedown was part of an, quote, arduous investigation working with local law enforcement. Now, if you're subscribed to Andreas Antonopoulos on YouTube, and if you're not, you should be, you'll have probably heard him talking about Bitcoin miners in Venezuela using their profits to buy food because the situation in the country is so dire. And maybe that's what these guys were doing. I don't have any evidence for that, but that would be where they could best apply the Bitcoin to demand, right? If there's no food, Andreas was talking about people who smuggle Bitcoin mining machines into Venezuela just over the border, mine the Bitcoin, spend it on Amazon to buy food, have that food shipped to Colombia, I think it is, which is the neighboring country. And then because they're on the border, they just smuggle the food over the border, and then the Bitcoin miners can then sell that food to people who need it. So that's how to monetize the Bitcoin in terms of a business, because there's a real need for food in Venezuela right now. So it goes on to say that Venezuelan law enforcement arrested these two guys. One guy was 51 years old, one guy was 35 years old. Charges against the alleged criminals were illegal international transmission to Poland, computer crime, exchange fraud, and theft of electricity. So here's the thing. We can't simply flip into moral outrage every time a government shuts down a Bitcoin mining facility and say that they are trying to suppress Bitcoin, right? If these guys did in fact fall foul of the law, then I don't care how much I believe in what you're doing, you've committed a crime, right? So yes, we can argue about the legitimacy of the government and the laws that they've put in place, but let's not get lost in mental abstractions. Let's just focus on facing this reality as it presents itself right now. Now, this sounds to me that the reason they got caught was due to the scale of their operation, and like it says here, that they were potentially stealing electricity. Now, it says under this heading of ties to a Bitcoin mining operation in Poland, it says, according to sources, the 11,000 mining rigs may have been purchased in August of 2015 and transported to the Venezuelan industrial park. This guy, Andreas, who was the 35-year-old guy, is a graduate of a business and finance at Miami-Dade College, and a Namstech employee since 2004. So, like I said, Andreas is the 35-year-old guy of the two. So he's well-educated and entrepreneurial, clearly. Now, that's commendable, but like I say, you still have to operate within the law, or you risk the survival of your whole business. I mean, wouldn't it be better to run a less profitable business over the long term than a more profitable business over the short term? Now, of course, it does depend on the circumstances, but as a general principle, that would be the basis on which I would operate. One of the principles that I have as a core value in my businesses is I'm always asking myself, how do we make this sustainable? I'm not interested in get-rich-quick schemes. I'm not interested in fads, trends, or flashes in the pan. I'm looking to establish something solid that will endure. And that's actually where I draw the distinction between getting rich and getting wealthy. You can get rich by winning the lottery, but getting wealthy requires a whole different transformation of one's character. So let's move on to the next bit in blue here. This is under a heading called Bitcoin mining and citizens using cryptocurrencies is not illegal in Venezuela. It says, currently, the Venezuelan government doesn't have any laws against Bitcoin mining. The case in Sharavev, which is another mine that got shut down, it says explains the CICP, which is another criminal investigations bureau. They believe money laundering and stealing power was involved. Now, that was the part that caused me to sort of adjust my attitude towards the authorities. The danger of coming to a conclusion about a person or an organization is that once you've done that, your mind becomes closed and thus it rejects any evidence to the contrary. And that happens because the new evidence just doesn't fit your model of the world. Well, therein lies the problem. Just because we have a particular model of the world in our minds does not automatically make the world that way. It just gives us a mild case of schizophrenia, which is when we can't tell the difference between a mental image and what we see with our actual eyes. So up until now, I was operating on the assumption that the Venezuelan authorities were cracking down on miners just because they don't like Bitcoin competing with their national currency. That may very well be the case, but then I find out there are no actual laws against mining or using Bitcoin in Venezuela. Now that doesn't mean I completely throw all my existing beliefs about the Venezuelan government out of the window. It's still a socialist, largely authoritarian regime that has clearly navigated their economy into the abyss. And yes, they may very well be actively looking to take out Bitcoin mines by finding other laws that they are breaking. But it's so important that we remain open to new information so that we get our map of reality as close to the truth as possible. Because without an accurate map of the territory, we have no hope of getting to where we want to go. So thanks for joining me today, guys. If you liked this episode, hit the like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. Please leave me a comment below with some feedback and get subscribed. And please support the Cryptoverse and boost cryptocurrency adoption by going to cryptoversity.com/podcast and becoming a patron. From a few dollars a month, you can secure Cryptoversity's future, get unlimited access to all Cryptoversity courses, and access a private, patrons-only chat group where you get direct access to me. That is all for today, guys. I will be back tomorrow with another episode of the Cryptoverse. So until then, it's me, Chris Coney, saying bye for now.